So, is this some kind of brave new world? I'm back at it again with another film review. This time, Captain America: Brave New World. Ap- After so long, so many years of waiting, since the Falcon and the Winter Soldier has ended, we finally got the the first, technically, big screen debut of Sam Wilson as the new Captain America in this blockbuster event, where a few years into his tenure as the captain, he has to solve a new conspiracy involving the president of the United States, now being Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, now played by Harrison Ford since William Hurt has passed away, involving the leader, aka Samuel Stearns, from The Incredible Hulk, coming back for vengeance towards him screwing him over in the past. So Sam and his new allies come in to assist him on this journey to save his legacy and the country's legacy, while also trying to live up to the pressure and expectations of being Captain America. So first of all, the plot is all right. Like, I guess execution wise, because the one thing that a lot of people won't really admit is that there are very few MCU projects with actual great complex plots, and that the most of them either fall in like three categories: either simple but effective, okay but entertaining, or utter dog shit. And this one falls into the middle category. But man, I'm probably might not be the right person to discuss this movie seriously, because I had a damn good time. People can tell me about its issues over 100 times, but it won't be able to change my mind. This is basically the film equivalent of having too much candy as a kid. It's not good for you, but it gives you a nice feeling. Like, out of the recent quote-unquote flops, this is my favorite one. Not that it's so bad it's good, but more like it is so committed and unafraid to the insanity that I can't dislike it. I much prefer this to the aggressive goofiness of Thor: Love and Thunder. I knew it was not going to be grounded since it showed Tiamat and Red Hulk months ago, so I went, screw it, enjoy it. It's a complete action fest, so I get others wanting some more breathing room. But what helped is that no one was really phoning it in, except for Shira Haas, as they seemed to really care about doing this movie. What I enjoyed the most was how it continued Sam's journey in being Captain America. Like, of course, the pressures, the expectations, the way people view him, the way how he views others, just how the world shifts for him taking up this new mantle. What I enjoyed is that they gave him some big stakes instead of like a small scale story. In this one, like, the country's relations with others is at stake, and he has to both assist and go against Ross in these ideas, deciding what is right of what is America supposed to represent versus what it actually is. It's some good stuff, even if it doesn't get enough attention, but yeah, some pretty decent stuff there. Also, this movie brings back Isaiah Bradley from the TV show, who's an aged super soldier who was given the serum, and then arrested and being experimented on, and then again being thrown in jail and not being released until much later, and then having all of his history being forgotten until Sam helped commemorate him in a museum so that others would remember who he was. But of course, he does remain very cynical over the world and America over what they've done to him. I'd say for those that have never seen the show, it does offer some exposition, like who he is, who Joaquin is, him being Cap. So that's just part a little awkward, and off-putting for those that don't know anything, or even for those that do know it. Is clearly just for those that don't know. But yeah, it's a little ham-fisted and I guess weirdly inserted, but it's not that bad. And also they bring back Joaquin Torres from the show, played by Danny Ramirez. Where in that one he's just an ally to Sam, helping him on his missions. But ever since now he got rid of his old wings, he gave them to him, and now Joaquin is the new Falcon. And he's gotten pretty used to this new green comic accurate suit. But then for Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford, he is shockingly good in this movie. Like, of course, with a guy like him who's been doing many blockbuster, big budget films throughout most of his acting career. And not to say he was ever a bad actor, there's no way, he's an icon. But let's just say he doesn't treat all his roles equally. So it's nice that he gave this movie some attention, and actually added some complexity and heart and soul to this antagonist that goes against what Sam wants to do, and him having his own agenda, whether it's personal or political. He kills it. Like, I didn't expect him to do it. I guess they did give him a good role worthy of his iconic status. So yeah, it was very impressive to see what he managed to pull off. This movie is a very fast-paced action fest. It's not even 2 hours long. It almost reaches the mark, but it doesn't make it there yet. So I can get why some might be upset of it for not giving enough breathing room. I would have too. But if you're just like an adrenaline junkie, then this is the movie for you, it seems. For the action scenes, it's mostly solid. Around like 70% of the action was good, but then the remaining 30% is quite sluggish and clunky, and is a little too quick cut-ish. If they were rushed to rehearse it. The musical score is pretty good. It's quite suspenseful and bombastic. Is not as memorable as that of Civil War and Winter Soldier, but it's pretty good. Like, I was on the edge of my seat for a good amount of the runtime. But speaking of coming back, there's a Tim Blake Nelson reprises his role again from all the way back from the Incredible Hulk in 2008. He comes back for revenge against Ross because supposedly, not really a spoiler because I guess for you that would know, he arrested Samuel over the gamma radiation experiments he did back in the day, but arrested him and promised him he would have a free life, but then just use him. So now he wants to taint his life. I do wish he had more screen time considering he was the one pulling the strings. But for the scenes that he has, he is menacing as hell. Like, I was creeped out by him. And the voice also helps too, I say. But then to move on, they introduced a character from the comics called Sabra. Her real name Ruth, and of course all this controversy of her being Israeli and all this and that of what she represents. But of all the hate and anger that she was getting, like, she was like probably very inoffensive. Like, she's like a completely different character in this one. Like she's still from Israel, but she used to be in the Red Room and now was a former Black Widow, but now she works for the government, well, the American government. And so that she just mostly there. But it is quite funny seeing her act all serious and then seeing her be super short, like the size of a child. So yeah, she was just there. And they bring in Sidewinder, played by Giancarlo Esposito, from Breaking Bad fame and many other things, who plays an assassin. He also doesn't do much, but he does get some cool action scenes and some cool lines. And of course, Giancarlo brings the menace as he usually does. He's been pretty typecasted, but it is what it is. And it seems like they might do more for him in the future because I guess there was a somewhat confirmation that he would appear in a future project, but it was never confirmed what it is, so we'll all see what it would be. For the humor, surprisingly, this movie doesn't try to be funny. Like, it doesn't have that much comedy in it. So for most of it, it's charming enough. There are some good jokes that did have the audience chuckling, including me. some of them is a little awkward and misplaced because it feels like they need something. So it's like, okay, I guess this was not needed, but hey, it's just short. At least none of it drags out. I say the cinematography is decent. Like, I also think this one actually think looks better than Winter Soldier and Civil War, just because there's more variety of colors and I guess better camera movement. Um, of course, like I think a lot of people know who've been following this production cycle is that it did have some reshoots, not as much as people were saying online, but it did have them. Of course, I was able to tell in some parts which scenes were added in, because I know a bunch of stuff was changed. Some scenes were removed, some were brought in, some characters were removed, some were added in. I guess that included Rosa Salazar's Diamondback and I guess Logan Kim's Amadeus Cho. So I do hope that both of them appear later on in a future project where the characters they were meant to be or someone else completely different. It has happened before, but I hope they give them a chance. And the CGI is also mostly solid. There's some parts where the character's a little too animated in the sky, and also some shots in the third act looking pretty fake and clearly green screened. But like around 80% of the effects look good, like passable, not like jarring, but not the best. But now we'll get to the spoiler segment. I'll give it a few seconds. Anyways, for the spoilers, like I was saying before, it did have some issues. But I feel like I was just too entertained by it. Like I would say I was never bored by it. The audience was also digging it. I was digging it too. It's so, like I said, unafraid and just doesn't joke around that much. It takes the material seriously and does add some heart and soul. The commentary is kind of lightweight as they don't go into it that much as they should be for this kind of material. Even the Falcon and the Winter Soldier has more commentary than this. But it was a good time. It does rehash some elements of the last two Captain America movies because it's now a political thriller franchise where they deal like all these warring countries and ideals and what the countries are, and the Cap being on the run from the authorities and defying authority, making the world evolve. Like it does do some of that again. Also, a cameo that I did not see coming was Sebastian Stan reprising his role as Bucky Barnes, meaning like now all the Cap movies have him in it. It's a nice scene where he gives Sam a pep talk over if he's worthy or not. And it was a heartfelt speech, but did have a joke that kind of undercut it. But I guess I can kind of let it slide because like these two have a different dynamic where they do joke around with each other a lot, even when they're being serious. So it was nice to see him again. I know we're gonna see him again at Thunderbolts later this year. I also like the confliction Sam had over him wanting to have the serum or not, since he doesn't have it. But then, of course, they make the point that he is special without it. Like, it's all about his heart, his attitude, his empathy, and of course, the Wakandan technology of his new outfit that he got. All this combined makes him who he is, and he is the right successor. He's destined to be Steve Rogers' successor, which makes it incredibly poetic and does elevate the rest of the story into what could have been forgettable to something decent. Also, after again so many years, not counting What If, they also bring back Liv Tyler from The Incredible Hulk. So I guess in some way this movie is kind of a sequel to that, without the Hulk being in it. But I say they combine the elements enough. Like, of course, it could have been a more Cap-centric story instead of having just Hulk antagonist. But at least in a way, this continues the aggression that Ross has given the Avengers. So of course it makes sense for him to combat with Captain America, the new Captain America again. over how things should be, especially with how like everyone coming back from the snap from Thanos. Because yeah, they're both in very different positions now. Sam used to be the Falcon, now he's Captain America. Ross used to be a general, then Secretary of State, and now to be the President of the United States. So yeah, things have changed. They like want to agree, but they also want to disagree. It's just very complicated. But it also makes it interesting and gives them like the best dynamic of the story and the best conflict. But anyway, yeah, they bring back Betty Ross for just one scene at the end. But I guess they could have done more because, of course, not enough Hulk material. And I guess this is what people have wanted. They have wanted like a Hulk rampaging, because I say this: my two favorite action sequences were like the last two ones, the aerial battle where Sam and Joaquin are in the top of the Indian Ocean, where also Stern, the leader, used mind control to manipulate his plans, like getting people, mind controlling Isaiah to try to kill Ross, which caused him to get arrested again, and Sam having to break him out and I guess find his innocence, and clear him of his charges. And it also happens to the pilots where they now attack each other because it's supposed there's this treaty between America and Japan that Ross wants to get, but then later goes again just so he can like keep the adamantium, because it seems like in terms of adding new lore, I know we just got Wolverine in a Marvel movie recently, but in the main universe, adamantium is now just being created and discovered, so that will play a big role in the franchise later on, especially when the X-Men come along. So that's a nice way of setup that feels natural, which I can appreciate. So yeah, but anyway, but that action scene where they're flying against the planes and trying to save the pilots, that was amazing to see on the big screen. Like the sound, the effects, like, oh my goodness, I was so immersed. And of course, the Red Hulk duel at the end, of course, I was expecting it to be short since this is not a very long movie and they had so much else to do. Because yeah, it's action scene after action scene. There isn't, I say, enough, I guess for those that wanted a balance of plot and action, this probably won't be it. Even though they're both good, it is kind of imbalanced. But yeah, the Red Hulk fight was duel was cool. Cool duel. Having Sam use his wits and his technology against Ross, transforming into the Red Hulk into a final display of revenge from Leader. It was very impactful. The emotional stakes were high. The physical stakes were high. It was just an all-around solid third act fight, and was well worth the build-up that the whole movie was like leading up to. Also, what's surprising, because I guess so many people make it a cliche, there are no deaths, like no major deaths. Like people are saying, oh, Joaquin might die, Ross might die, Betty might die, Ruth might die, Isaiah Bradley might die, but no, they all survive. And also Sidewinder doesn't die either, so I guess it gives them potential to come back. I don't see why not, why they can't use them again. But again, I meant to say there's no reason why they can't reuse these characters. But I guess knowing Marvel, it's very rare for them to bring back characters nowadays. Because back then it would be like rare to be the one character that doesn't come back, but it is becoming more common. There's like, anyways, to go back on topic. They all survive, so which leaves some pretty good story potential for the future. It does have one post-credit scenes to the end, but I say it's one of my least favorite post-credit scenes of the saga, because it is incredibly vague and pointless. It could have been easily part of the main movie. It just felt, even my audience and me felt like they wasted the time, because it was just Sam going to Stearns in the raft. Also, speaking of which, Ross turned himself in to do the right thing. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to the next line of presidency. But yeah, he goes to him, and Stearns tell him that the others are coming, which I believe, and I mean just believe, the quote-unquote rumors, there might be a different Hulk storyline happening. But they don't make it clear enough that it's for that. And for people who do not know anything about the storyline, they're going to be confused as hell, because they're like, why did you even wait here? Like, this meant nothing. So yeah, like, it was kind of a joke of a post-credit scene, not like a funny joke. It just meant nothing. But yeah, I do hope, back to the other actors, I do hope that they also bring back those they didn't use. Um, this is for sure the second time in a well, not this is like the second time a Marvel movie ended with a Kendrick Lamar song. There was all the stars from Black Panther, and now I in this one, and it was a bop. So that was a nice listen to. And also the day I saw this movie was the same day I saw an episode of Shrinking, means I got double the Harrison Ford in one day. Pretty unexpected. What a cool cat. So yeah, in a way, I get to a point it was getting a little mind numbing because of how the intensity, but I was entertained by it. I would rewatch it again just because it's short and very fast paced and straight to the point, and the good stuff outweighs the flaw stuff. I don't ever see myself disliking it like people can say all they would want, and I wouldn't care. I wouldn't change my mind. I would rewatch this with friends. I would rewatch this with family. It's a pretty entertaining time, even if it's, I guess, in a way, middle of the road plot-wise, but entertainment-wise, it reached the level for me. Like, I guess I would prefer this over other flawed movies just because it has more of what I wanted in terms of action, because the action does make it worth it, and the storyline is alright, but I guess, I don't know, it worked for me. Like, I was glued to the screen now saying, this was awesome! But anyway, to end it off here, I guess this movie an 8.2 out of 10. So, when is Sam actually gonna reform the Avengers? And by the way, that final speech with Joaquin made his character all the more worth it and endearing to watch. See you guys on the flip side. Bye bye.